We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Are there any additions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I have several additions, if I may add, please. On the consent agenda, item 2, Commissioners' warrants, we have add-on warrants this morning of $1,364.84, 1364.84. At 9:15 a.m. with Kyle Creer, I'd like to add item CUP permit, that's conditional use permit extension request for the Merrill, MERRILL solar garden. That would be an action item. And then under business, approve 2022 Southwest Health and Human Services SWHHS lease and IT agreement. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, hearing those additions, I'll move the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion.
second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approve the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of 11:22. Approve the commissioner warrants with the add-on of 1364.84. Approve the auditor warrants of 114, 119. That must be a typo there.
Excuse me, it should be a 2.
And 121.22. And approve the hospital warrants of $679,790.70.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval.
I'll support that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Jared. You're up.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm Jared Johnson, the assistant engineer. I'm here for Nick Bergman this morning, who is not able to be here. So our first item we had was an action item to set a bid opening date for our 2022 overlay projects. Supporting documents have kind of a map layout of where those are at. This is just shy of 33 miles of overlay, which is about double of what we normally have done traditionally here. And we're asking that we set the letting date of bid opening for March 8th, 2022 at 10:30 a.m. For projects 059-601-038, which is County Road 1 from Jasper over to our County Road 58 on the South County line. And 059-606-023, which is our County Road 6 from Highway 23 over to County Road 18. 059-608-027, which is County Road 8 from Highway 75 to County Road 16 in Holland. 059-610 or 043, which is County Road 10 from the South Dakota state line over to Highway 75. And 059-616-039. That is 2 patches on County Road 16, just south of Holland, over a culvert that we replaced a couple years ago. And also we would do 100 feet on either side of the railroad tracks on County Road 16. And the reason for that overlay is a couple years off, but since we have to have the Burlington Northern approval and they have to have someone sitting there, we want to do that right when they're doing County Road 8, so at the same time. So then that'll be done and we won't have to mess with the railroad the next time through. So, and then the final one is 059-656-038, and that is the remainder of County Road 56 south of Pipestone here from County Road 2 up to just south of the golf course where we left off a couple years back. So, yeah, if we receive everything back in time from MnDOT, our anticipated timeline was that we would advertise and open bids on March 8th. If we don't get back everything in time, due to COVID reasons or whatever, then we would possibly need to delay the opening until March 22nd. But the earlier that we bid these, the better for prices. So that's why,
Right.
everything is lining up to do March 8th at this point.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to set the letting date at March 8th at 10:30.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Our next item would be our 2022 box culvert contract number 2 letting, and that'll be at 10:30. So I will be coming back at that time to open bids for that. I believe our last item we had to discuss about that tile.
Yep, Tile County Gravel Roads information.
And at this point, we'll postpone that until the next meeting in February to discuss that. So,
Can't tile now anyhow.
nope. So, anything else for me? Otherwise,
Any questions
that's
for
all I
Jared?
have at this point. So, okay.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
See you again at 10:30.
10:30.
Next up, we have Kyle.
Morning.
Morning, Kyle.
And today I've got 2 items. The first one being a resolution, and the resolution is, it's in the AMC docket on the environmental fund, on the environmental side, and it's also on the solid waste administrator's radar too. Right now, the state takes about 30% of the solid waste assessment tax is being collected and puts it into the general fund. So the request from this resolution is requesting that 30% that's being pulled out of the solid waste management tax be put into the environmental trust fund. The solid waste tax generates about $83 million a year, or 83 and a half. 25 million is going into the general fund, and then there's 58.5 million that goes into the environmental fund. And then of that, the counties are receiving 17 million that goes into our score fund, which equates to about $80,000 per year per county typically. So the goal is to try to get the remainder of that tax into the environmental fund and then back to counties to supplement and assist with solid waste management activities.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve the resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And then the next item is a conditional use permit extension request. I received a letter yesterday from DG Minnesota CS2 LLC. If you recall, a year ago, we permitted the Green Arrow project just west of Coburn's. And our conditional use permit process through the county ordinance says that if they don't begin activities within a year, that it's null and void. So they're requesting an extension due to the fact that Excel has not approved an interconnect at this time. So they're requesting a 1-year extension on the conditional use permit.
Mr. Chair, I'll move. Go ahead. Make that a motion. Yep, and I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I do have a question. Do they expect Excel is gonna allow them to connect?
I don't know if they ever know that answer. I think it's really, a lot of these are being proposed and there's a lot of steps to go through. I mean, you need the MISO to approve it and then Excel has to accept. I mean, so there's multiple layers of approvals, so.
'Cause I just keep hearing from other counties that even bigger projects are being delayed or postponed because they can't,
Right.
there's not enough transmission capacity, basically.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to that, how that all falls into place.
Any other questions?
We've done the work on this already and approved it, so it isn't gonna cost us any more to extend it for a year.
And they keep farming it in the meantime, so.
Yep. Keeps it on the table. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Procedure to fill vacancy of retiring county recorder.
Chairman, I'm gonna recommend that we hold off until 9:30. I invited Mary Ann DeGroat, County Recorder, down here to be part of that discussion. If we could do the other business before that, I would appreciate it.
Okay. Kathy, personnel?
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Just an update on hiring for jailer dispatchers. So we did, have 13 applications before our initial cutoff for interviews, and we interviewed 7, for the 2 vacant, jailer dispatcher positions, and we do have 2 finalists that we would like to make offers to. One of the individuals, we are planning to hire at step A, which doesn't require a specific board approval. But the other individual, we would like to hire at step C due to some prior, military experience, and they are also bilingual. So, we think that definitely holds some value for the position. And I can't release the name right now because we're still working on background check for this person. But I did let the personnel committee know just this morning, who the individual is. So I would be seeking board approval to hire 1 jailer dispatcher position at step C of the 2022 pay plan.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion that we approve the hiring of jailer dispatcher at step C, 1 of those individuals.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion?
I just-
Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Anything else, Kathy?
I don't think so.
Well, thanks for your hard work on that, getting those positions filled.
Thank you. Then the Southwest lease, Steve?
Mr. Chairman and board members, this is the annual lease agreement that we have with Southwest Health and Human Services for the building on North Hiawatha. We have 2 agreements. One is for the information technology contract, goes for the calendar year, January 1st through December 31st. And we are paid $8,750, and we bill them quarterly for that. The other one is for the office lease agreement. We were unable to do anything with increasing the lease as the information we got to them, their budget was already set. So I would recommend that the board members on the Southwest Health and Human Services Board work towards a possible 3%, at least 3% increase in our lease going into the 23, and work on that before they set their budget, so as they get into their budget time. So for 2022, it's the same amount that we used last year, no change in that, and I bill them quarterly on that. So I just recommend authorization for the chair and myself to sign the agreement. Southwest Health and Human Services has already approved it.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion that we approve the 2022 lease agreement with Southwest Health and Human Services. And as Steve said, we certainly need to take a look at increasing this, because I know that we've talked about that before, that with the 6 counties, the leases are just all over the place. There needs to be some kind of a common sense approach to this. But if it's already set, because the levy's already set, I guess we have to deal with this for another year. But I certainly want to make sure this stays on our radar for next year.
Time to start dealing with it is July.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
I'll support that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Then, you wanna do the IT separately then?
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the information technology services contract, Southwest Health and Human Services.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Not? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Well, I guess we can recess until about 9:30.
Sunday morning is a good time to go through Chicago.
All right, we're ready, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we will reconvene and talk about the procedure to fill a vacancy of retiring county recorder.
Mr. Chairman, I have before you a timeline very similar to what we put together when we did the appointment timeline for the auditor treasurer. Went through the schedule and everything. On the 11th, you accepted the notice of vacancy when Mary Ann presented the letter to the board for action, and that was accepted. So if the board wished to go through this, the procedure then would be to advertise, and I have a resolution and a copy of the notice of public hearing. So if the board approved that today, we would run that for 2 consecutive weeks in the newspapers. That would be Resolution 59-1022. That would be published notifying the public on the intention of the board to appoint the position of county recorder and calling for a public hearing. So what would happen then is on February 22nd at 10 a.m. we would have a public hearing and invite the residents to come in and give testimony and comment on the board's intention to appoint the position of the county recorder. So that is the public's chance to come in and weigh in on if that's what they think should be done or should not be done. And then the board then would, on that same date, you could also postpone if you needed to. If you wanted to host another hearing, just depending on what happened, you could do multiple items on that. But if everything was going forward and you didn't get any issues with the public or didn't get much talk about it, the board could vote to approve or deny the appointment of the county recorder position. If the board approved it, we would then go forward with the hiring process, which would be developing a job description for county recorder and working with the personnel committee on that. So what happens then, if you approved it, the public then has 30 days until March 22nd of 22 to overturn the board action by petition by collecting 10% of eligible Pipestone County voter signatures, and if they meeting the requirements of the Secretary of State. If the petition is approved, the resolution to appoint is rescinded at that point. And the public made their statement that said, we don't want that to happen. So then we would be in the going to a elected recorder position as we have been in the past. So that's the public's opportunity to voice their opinion, go get signatures, and bring it back. And it would be 5% of the board, of the eligible voters from the last election we had.
10%.
Or 10%, excuse me, yeah. Okay. If no petition is brought forth to the county after March 22nd, then that would be the appointment position would be approved, and then the earliest the county board could adopt a resolution to provide for an election of the office that was made appointed is 3 years after that date, which would be February 22nd of 25. So that would be another time it could go back to elected again. As far as information goes, there are at least 40 counties, and probably more at this point, that have appointed recorders. And you have a copy of that on that AMC sheet as well. And I did provide a sheet that AMC had put together based on 2020 appointments. And Mary Ann and I talked yesterday, and I think you're probably 45, 46, somewhere in there at this point. Since 2020, there have been more changes, and she mentioned there would be more retirements. Mary Ann, if you wish to speak, you're more than welcome to come up.
Oh, would you? We'd love to hear from you, please.
Just a question, how many eligible voters are there in Pipestone County? Do we know that?
5,000 something, isn't it?
Do we know that number?
Yeah, it's just over 5,000. I think the number would, then that would be 10%, approximately 500. 500 would have to present a petition. I'll get the exact numbers from Amanda.
I think with Tyler, it was 543.
Yeah, that sounds right. So basically 500, 540, somewhere in there it would have to, they would have to have signatures. They've got eligible voters in the county.
Mr. Chair, if I may ask Mary Ann a few questions though, and obviously with the long service that you've given, do you have a personal opinion as far as whether you think this would be a good thing or a bad thing for the citizens? And also, as having been the recorder for all those years, very fortunate that you had the support of the electorate to keep you there. But it would be really, did you ever find it early on in your career a little bit disconcerting not knowing if you're gonna have a job next 4-year cycle or not?
No,
No, because you had the support of the voters.
right.
Yep.
I was elected 7 times. I actually like the election process. You know, it's not my decision to make, it's the board's decision to make. I do like giving the voters a voice in who their people are. It is, you know, you always have that choice, but I guess I was never worried whether or not I would be elected again or not.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board?
Just a comment, but I'm guessing just based on, you know, our discussions over the years, it has become more and more complex, and I'm guessing there aren't many people that would be qualified to do what you do.
I agree with that statement, yes.
I mean, you'd hate to have an election where somebody got in that had no experience, because it would be very challenging to move forward under those conditions.
We could have a big mess.
And as you recall, when we had discussed auditor treasurer, as far as accountability, yes, the citizens ultimately do have the say, but whether it is through a popular vote or if it's through the administration. So with the citizens having the voice as far as who the commissioners are, and the commissioners then, of course, pass the responsibility on to our hired administrator. So there is oversight through there. It's not like there's absolutely no control at all. There is control, but we also have a little more control as far as the level of knowledge and the capabilities of the person doing that job, because it's a very important job.
It is.
And the decisions that you have made as the recorder, it's not like you ever affected policy. Your decisions always were in staying in compliance with the law. Yep. So there's not a lot of gray area there. The law is the law. So it's not like that person in that position's got a lot of latitude to affect the outcome.
And the other thing too, please, board members, and to remember is that Mary Ann works in concert with the auditor's office and the assessor's office very closely.
Yes.
For all the land records that go through. Those 3 offices need to be gelled together and
Right.
work together. We have Amanda learning the process right now as an appointed official. Having the recorder to be an appointed official, I have no concerns with that as far as moving forward with that and working with that person. This does give you opportunity, as Commissioner Johns was talking about, getting somebody that possibly has experience, either financial, banking, real estate. There are lots of areas where people can bring in some of this knowledge to do an excellent job for the county too. Obviously, there's lots to learn too.
Right.
But the biggest thing is all those offices need to work together as a team and keep everything cohesive and work well together on it. And they do now, not saying they don't by any means, they do. They work well together, but that gives us opportunities to, you know, enhance that if possible too. The working relationships between all the offices, instead of just having an individual, well, here's the auditor's office doing their thing and the assessor's office doing theirs and Mary Ann's office doing theirs. Really bring it more together, I think, would be really would be what I'd want to work with on that.
And as was already pointed out, the large majority of the counties in the state have gone to appointed positions. Does your statewide organization, of all of the recorders, have they talked about this in your meetings at all?
We address it almost every, at the MACO conference and at the summer CRA conference, and it's been debated back and forth. You know, the metro counties first, I think, started the appointed process, and then it's creeped out into out-of-state. recently changed the law about the 104-day notice prior. So, you know, they basically, the current law protected the sitting elected, and if they choose to run again, I had to give notice 104 days prior to the first day of filing. And so then that's why I had to give notice in January, is because the law did change. So, you know, they, for a lot of, I think the legislatures every year came, county boards came, and they said, you know, Marshall County wanted to appoint their auditor, or possibly Swift County wanted to appoint their treasurer, and they didn't like being repeatedly asked by counties to take these individual bills up. So then they changed the statute to protect the sitting officials, that if we choose to run again, we can, but if not, we had to give notice early enough so before the filing date, first primary filing date. So
Absolutely, and I like that provision in the law to protect the sitting elected official. And obviously, had it not been for your retirement, we wouldn't even be discussing this. Yep.
No, not at all.
And also, if we were to pass at this point on going to appointed versus elected, it would just prolong that. It would be whatever the tenure of the next person was. If the next person gets elected, gets reelected, it could be a long time before this opportunity would avail itself again. We want to do what's right for the community. We want to do what's right for the person in that position as well too. So, and still also maintain that involvement in the electorate as well too, because again, ultimately we are all answerable to the electorate. So,
How about the salary of that position? Would that have to be redone also?
Yes.
yep.
Yeah, please.
Pay plan.
So if this resolution is approved today, we'll start working on the job description for approval at the next board meeting, so we can get that process started in tandem with the appointment. And then once the job description is approved, we can send it in to get scored, placed on the pay plan.
Okay. I know we voted on the minimum salary last time, but
Yep.
could probably be higher than that, right?
Yes.
Just a little bit.
So our decision today is gonna be appoint or elected.
Well, Mr. Chair, if it's appropriate this time, I will go ahead and move that we do pass Resolution 591022, which states that we're going to publish, notifying the public of our intention to appoint, and then that'll just start the process.
Okay,
So I will make that motion that we do start the publishing with this resolution.
is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Not? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Start the process.
Yeah, very good, Mr. Chairman, I will.
And then again, to reiterate, the next step of it then will be when we have that public hearing.
Public hearing will be 10 a.m., February 22nd.
And at that public hearing, then we'll take input from the citizens, get opinions from them.
Correct.
And at this point, we are not committed either way. All we've done at this point is opened up for the public hearing.
Correct. Yep. It's the opportunity again for the constituents to have a conversation with the board on their feelings on this. It's no different than we did when we did the auditor treasurer's appointment process.
And then after we hear input from the public, then on the 22nd, then we'll vote at that point. Now, do I recall, does that have to be a supermajority or is that a simple majority?
Supermajority.
That's what I thought. Yep.
Have to be 80% or 4 in favor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Okay, we know what has to be done for the next couple of weeks, so.
Go to work on that. Thank you.
And we got plenty of time now before we open bids. I guess we will recess again. Thank you, Mary Ann.
And we're recording.
Okay, We will reconvene, and we have the bid opening now. I'll turn it over to Jared.
Okay. Again, I'm Jared Johnson, the assistant engineer. I'm here in place of engineer Bergman today. So be opening the bids for our culvert letting here. As you can see on the map, it's on the back of the bid tab sheet. Kind of details the locations of those projects. They're kind of equally spread out all through the county there. So with that, do we have any more bids? Any more bids? Okay, hearing none, we will proceed with opening the bids here. Looks like we have 6 bidders today. First bid is from Riley Brothers Construction out of Morris, Minnesota. The bid from Riley Brothers, $685,767.74. 685,767.74. The second bid is from Holstein Excavating Incorporated out of Edgerton. They're not on the bid tab, so if you could just add them to the line below. The bid from Holstein Excavating, $684,544.55. 684,544.55. The next bid is from R&G Construction out of Marshall, Minnesota. The bid from R&G is $502,615.50. 502,615.50. The next bid is from Midwest Contracting also out of Marshall, Minnesota. The bid from Midwest, $473,173.50. 473-173-50. The next bid is from A&C Excavating out of Marshall, Minnesota. The bid from A&C Excavating, $469,896.50. 469-896-50. And the final bid is from 605 Companies out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The bid from 605 Companies, $666,517.50. 666-517-50.
Jared, do you have an engineer's estimate?
Yep, I do. The engineer's estimate for these culverts is $516,006. So 516006. So looking at the bids, I guess happy with where they came out at.
We just needed more, cause it seemed like they're going downhill.
You liked that trend for a while there? We do have a fairly large window to install these. The completion is towards the end of 2023, so we were hopeful that would help all bidders be able to, put out as competitive a bid as they could, depending on their time frame. So, yeah.
Now, are you gonna go check the numbers?
All bids and bonds are in place, they're good.
Okay. I guess that being said, could we award based to the low bidder based on Nick's approval
Right.
of this? So award to A&C Excavating for $469,896.50, contingent on engineer Bergman's approval.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion that we do award this bid to A&C Excavation contingent on engineer Bergman having a chance to take a look at it. And now, we don't need to check the math or anything like that, everything?
We will still do that, yes, and that'll be part of
Right.
Nick's approval process, so.
I'd second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Carried. Check with Nick and thank you.
Will do. Thank you very much. Thanks, Demaine.
Thank you, Jared. Jermaine?
Every day,
Yeah.
two more.
Thank you.
Jermaine, thank you. Jared, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any further business to come before this board?
No, Mr. Chairman, just a reminder of our next two upcoming meetings on February 8th and the 22nd, and also the AMC Legislative Conference in St. Paul, March 1st through the 3rd.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
Okay. Stand adjourned.
Surprising.
Here for a
spread on
safety
that.
committee Monday. So I'll be here for a safety committee. I'll be coming straight from work. So.
Okay.